to video 1 of my Mac Dev Setup mini-series. In this video, we are going to go over some bare bones tech tools. These are things that I would consider to be pretty much critical for any sort of development environment. And so what we're going to be looking at today is Xcode, Sublime Text for a text editor, iTerm for my terminal of choice, Brew, which is a package manager, Spectacle, which allows you to resize windows, and then Keyboard Maestro, which allows you to set up macros for different shortcuts on your keyboard. All right, so let's just jump right in. First things first is Xcode. You might be asking, why is Xcode on a bare bones tools setup? The reason being is a lot of either installers or different packages, or what's the word I'm looking for? Different programs that you might install either will require a GCC compiler, which comes from Xcode, or anything from the Xcode command line developer tools, which in some cases you can install without Xcode. Sometimes you need Xcode. It's a little finicky on macOS. So love it or hate it, it's going to be easier if you just install Xcode right out of the gate, bite the bullet and get it done. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that. I will give you guys a heads up. Xcode takes a while to download and install. There's a lot of data here. And so we're going to get that downloading, and then we're going to go do some other things. Whenever Xcode finishes up, we'll go ahead and knock that out. But in the meantime, we'll let Xcode download. Next thing, Sublime Text. Every developer needs a text editor of choice. Some people like Atom, some people like Sublime, some people like TextEdit. The people that like TextEdit, I like to say, are wrong, but you know, to each their own. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Safari, which I should tell you guys, the other day I was actually forced to, what's the word I'm looking for? Reset my macOS. So I'm running from bone stock macOS. I've done a few little minute setting changes, like setting up my iCloud account, enabling messages, like turning on the battery percentages, but other than that, I'm bone stock. So we are literally going from ground zero here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get our text editor going. So go to Google, type in Sublime Text, and of course I will give you guys links all the way around for everything. So we're going to go ahead and download this guy. Do you want to allow downloads on so that we can, yes. So yeah, since I'm running bone stock, and I literally did this yesterday, I'm going to have websites asking for every permission under the sun. So that's going to be a good time. So we'll let him download. All right, Sublime Text 2. So this is a little DMG file, which is effectively an installer. So we're going to let Sublime Text open up. We're going to drop Sublime Text into our applications file. There we go. That copied over. Good stuff. Ooh, now close out of that. And then in the event you are unfamiliar with macOS, all your applications will go either into your applications folder, which you can find this way. F4 will bring up your applications window all the same. There's a shortcut where if you take, 3 fingers and a thumb and pinch on your trackpad, you'll have your applications. So you can see Xcode, we're downloading like 1.5 gigs out of almost 8 gigs. It's going to take some time. But here is Sublime Text. First open, macOS is going to tell you downloaded it from the internet. Do you want to trust it? So I do. I'm going to hit open. And there we go. We have a text editor. Ooh, yay. All right, anyway. That aside, we're going to close out of that. Don't need applications anymore. And just because I despise TextEdit, we are going to close that. We're going to open Sublime Text back up, and then we're going to put this in our text editor, which unfortunately TextEdit likes RTFs, so we're going to see if we can change this to a text file, and then try opening this again. And in the event that doesn't work, we may just be forced to stick with TextEdit. Ugh. Gross. All right, fine. Well, hell. I tried to reformat the file and it changed all the formatting. All right, I've ruined everything. Fine. So I've made my bed, now I'm going to lay in it. We're just going to stick with Sublime. And since we started with RTF, we're just going to fry all this garbage. We don't need any of it. All right, anyway, Sublime Text, done. Next thing we need is a respectable terminal. I will tell you that macOS comes stock with a nice little terminal. Works great. That being said, I really don't like it. I much prefer iTerm, so I'm going to go download that and get that going. Reason I like iTerm is there are a whole bunch of plugins that play nice, whether that be ZSH as your shell, GitHub integration, different data points that you can display inside of your terminal, auto-completion, all sorts of things like that. I just like it. So we're going to go ahead and download that. Allow, so that's going to get downloaded. We'll let that go through, and we'll clean up this document in the meantime, I suppose. I don't know what half of these encodings are. All right, looks like our download completed. So let's go ahead and open up iTerm. Plop, plop. All right, hit open. It's going to ask us if we want to move to the applications folder, which we do. So we're going to go ahead and allow that. Good stuff. And check for updates automatically. Yeah, sure, why not? Boink. All right, so now we have iTerm set up and ready to go. Hooray. All right, now I feel like this tutorial would not be nearly as much fun if I did not go over, sorry, this is irritating me. Doink, 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 doink. Okay, much better. All right, if I didn't go over how I like to configure my iTerm instance. So there are quite a few different tutorials out on the internet about how you can set this up. This is just my preferred method. All right, so first things first, we're gonna have to clean this up a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so it'd be great if Xcode had finished installing. It is not, but see a lot of tools for Xcode. Lovely. What I was going to start with is installing Homebrew, which is Brew. It's technically Homebrew. Some people call it Brew, but it requires Xcode command line tools. So I'm going to go ahead and let Xcode finish installing before I try to install the command line tools, just because I don't want anything to get horrendously upset. So we will configure iTerm at the end. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and go get Spectacle and Keyboard Maestro, just to give iTerm a little bit of time to download. So not iTerm, let's go get Spectacle. All right, so Spectacle is a lovely little app, which looks like our web page here is having a little difficulty. Let's try refreshing it. Oh, that actually got it to work. Boink. All right, let's go ahead and download this guy. Allow. Allow. open Sesame. Yes, we know we downloaded it from the internet. All right, so first things first. I'm going to say that a lot. Spectacle needs permissions for resizing windows, as it tells you here, so grant access to the application. You can hit open system preferences and it'll pop this open, but this is going to be under privacy. You're going to need to click your lock, type your password in, that unlocks, give Spectacle accessibility features, and really should be all there is to it there. We'll reopen Spectacle and then it says, hooray, you have installed the things. So Spectacle's a little funny, it doesn't automatically move itself like Sublime or iTerm did. So we're going to go ahead and grab our downloads, take Spectacle and plop it in our applications folder. The reason we are going to do that is so that whenever we open it and tell it to launch Spectacle at login, it'll launch it from the applications folder rather than the downloads. So in the event you ever clear out your downloads, Spectacle is still hanging around. So the reason I like Spectacle as a program is, let's go ahead and get rid of it. There we go. If you are working with a window and you want to full screen it or resize it, so all I'm doing here is Command Option right, left, F for full screen, C for center. You can do top, you can do bottom, and you can also do quadrants, I believe. Yeah, so quadrants are Command Option, Shift right and left for the bottom, or just Command and, I'm sorry, I said Command and Option, I meant Command and Control, right and left for the top. So handy little tool, definitely worth downloading. The other thing we're going to go get is Keyboard Maestro. And what this is this allows you to do a whole host of automation goodies and key bindings to where certain shortcuts will open certain apps. This one is paid, it's 36 bucks for a license for version 9, but it's definitely worth the expense, I suppose. There is a free trial, which they'll let you play around with it for a little while before buying it, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and download it. I do have a license key already, so I'll type that in here in a second, but I'll show you guys, I'll give you an example of what this application does and why I like it. All right, so going down our list, I guess we can kind of cross those two off. All right, let's go open Keyboard Maestro, set this guy up. All right, Keyboard Maestro is gonna, again, also open for system preferences. Go ahead and allow it. And then where's Keyboard Maestro? Accessibility is required. Yep, we already did that. We'll just say don't ask again. And then we don't need the tutorial. Get rid of the little welcome. And then we have our welcome to Keyboard Maestro macro goodies. And I will tell you guys, I've been running a older version, so we might stumble through this, but we'll stumble through it together. So first things first, let's crack open a preferences pane and say launch engine at login. Why didn't that work? You should disable this, launching at login, software updates from working, quit and move Keyboard Maestro to applications folder, or, okay. So I guess Keyboard Maestro doesn't move itself over either. So let's go Finder, let's go Downloads, let's grab Keyboard Maestro and plop it in our applications folder. And then go ahead and kill it off, because right now we are running from the Downloads folder. We want to run it from the Applications folder. So let's go find it. Okay, there we go. crack open our settings pane again. I like shortcuts. Command comma is pretty much a common shortcut across Mac OS to open up a preferences pane. So launch engine, I'm not worried about syncing. Application packets, fine. Large text, what's small and tiny look like? Normal seems okay. I'm just kind of going through these settings, seeing if there's anything that I feel is super important. Everything looks all right so far. All right, cool stuff. So we're going to close out of that, and we are going to go ahead and set up a macro. So what I typically like to do, make a macro group. We will rename this to user macro and macros, and make sure that's enabled. There we go. Then we'll come over here and we'll make our first macro. So we are going to call this iTerm. We will do a new trigger. We'll go hotkeys, and I like to do command option and then a given key. So for iTerm, I'm going to go command option I. And then whenever we press that, we want to activate a specific application. So we'll double click this guy, and then we will need to activate iTerm. Okay, and so then that should be realistically all there is to it. I don't think you actually have to hit an explicit like play, or I'm sorry, save button, but we are going to try it, make sure it works. iTerm comes up. Cool stuff. And then we are going to go ahead and make another macro. So we're going to make sure we're in our macro group. We're going to add, we need to hit the plus button over here. We are going to call this Sublime. Make another hot trigger. Sublime is going to be command option U, which is one key over from the I, which is iTerm. We are going to go new action, activate a specific application, and we want Sublime Text. Easy peasy, right? And we'll exit out of that. And then if we go command option U, we bring Sublime to the front. So between that and Spectacle, you can pretty much pick your window and resize it with ease. So we're going to leave this little window hanging out in the center because we'll go back to that and set up macros as we download programs. All the same with Finder. Our system preferences pane we'll leave in the middle as well. All right, so that takes care of that. We'll exit out of that. We'll bring this over to my secondary monitor. And at this point in time, it's going to be a waiting game for Xcode. So I'll go ahead and let that download. I'm going to cut this video here, and I will restart recording whenever Xcode has finished downloading. All right, welcome back. Xcode just finished up. I really haven't done anything. I just kind of left my computer alone and went and ate some breakfast. But we've got Xcode, so now we can go ahead and open it, which it's going to ask you to agree to some nonsense and type in a password, so we'll go ahead and get that done. It may or may not try to install the command line tools. I swear it's different every time, so just kind of let the installer do its thing. Okay, there we go. Whatever that was is installed. I do have another monitor plugged in, but Xcode woke itself up over here. So that's good, we now have Xcode. Okay, so we have Xcode. Let's go ahead and get our command line tools installed. So if you go Xcode select -- install, this is going to say it requires command line developer tools. Would you like to install this now? Go ahead and hit install, agree to some more nonsense. And if you already have Xcode, most of the time this will go pretty quick. All right, so about 9 minutes. All right, software was installed, goody. So we can hit done. Now we don't have to worry about that. So now all the Xcode junk is taken care of. Next thing we are gonna do is install Homebrew. And the best way to do that is just to grab this little Ruby script, which you can find pretty much anywhere on the internet, but I'll type it out for you guys. Hit enter, and then this is going to tell you everything that Brew is going to install. And we'll hit enter. It's going to ask for a password, which we will type, and then off to the races we go installing things. So we'll let that kind of chew through its installer. Boop. All right. And installation is successful. Good stuff. So now if we go like brew, it'll tell me I need to give it some shit. All right, so now we can go brew install ZSH. And it'll pull down some goodies. So let that kind of do its thing for a minute. Cool stuff. So now ZSH should be installed. And we should be good to go. I'm just kind of reading some things. Oops, wrong window. All right. So now we're here. Next thing we are going to do is download, what is it? Oh my ZSH. And we're just going to do that through a simple sh command. So now we have oh my ZSH, which gives us a handful of nice little convenience features. So we're going to check our version, and it looks like we've got 5.7.1. I'm not sure if that is the latest version or not. In the event you want to make sure you have the latest, you can go upgrade my ZSH, which should be an aliased command. And it looks like I am already up to date. So, good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and restart iTerm just to make sure everything got sourced and stuck correctly. Not all the time will it, but looks like we jumped right into oh my ZSH, and iTerm. So good stuff there. Okay, a little bit of developer nonsense. ls-la will list out all of your little files, and ZSH comes with a little config file here. We're going to go ahead and open that up in VI and take a look at things. I don't think default has much enabled. So we do have themes, which we're going to set some of those up. We also have plugins, which we're going to set up a few of those. And then yeah, I think that's all we're going to do to get started. So first things first, there are a handful of themes that are nice to use. Two of the common ones, I believe, are, I want to say Agnoster is how you say it. I'm not entirely sure, but Power Level 9K is the other one. And I don't recall if you get Agnoster out of the box. It may be something we have to go install. But if we have to go install it, we can absolutely do that. Not a big deal. So let's go agnoster and go ahead and save this. You could I suppose, resource. So whenever you change something to your ZSH file, you're going to have to do one of two things. You're either going to have to reopen iTerm or resource the file. ZSHRC. I'm just going to resource the file. And so Ignoster did work. You'll see that I went from a little squiggly line to question mark, squiggly, question mark. The reason that took place is because I don't have the font installed in my terminal just yet that theme thinks that it wants. I believe Powerline Fonts is going to be the font package that we need in order to make that work. So I will provide a link to this. It will be a GitHub repository that you'll have to go download and build. So we're going to go ahead and get that taken care of. I'm going to make a development directory, and inside of this we're going to make a dev tools. And we're gonna go, I'm trying to think how I want to set up my hard drive. Probably should have thought of this beforehand. But in dev tools, I guess we can go ahead and let's go dir repos. And we'll go ahead and clone down power lines. All right. And that should download us fonts. So we'll go ahead and jump into that directory. And we need to run, looks like an install script. Copying fonts, Powerline fonts, installed to there. Cool. We will go ahead and remove fonts once we have everything working, since since it was copied over to our library fonts. We don't necessarily need to hang on to the repo. So once we verify that everything downloaded and is working correctly, we will try that directory. So let's go ahead and open up our preferences of iTerm and select our font, which I want to say that's going to be under appearance. Bear with me for just a second. It might be under general. Preferences, perhaps? Profiles? Probably under profiles. Under text. There we go. All right, so here's our font. And we should have I expected to, there we go. There they all are. There should be a Powerline font. Which I'm not seeing. Well, that's irritating. I wonder if they renamed it something. Can you just search for Powerline? There we go. Alright, so I'm going to go with I don't know, let's check out Ubuntu for Powerline. That looks a little smushed, doesn't it? Trying to remember. Oh god, that's terrible. I'm trying to remember what I had prior to resetting or reinstalling my operating system. I might have just used a source code. That might have been it. And then what, bold maybe? God, that looks terrible. That looks better. That looks a lot better, except the font's too large. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go with that. All right. That takes care of our fonts, and now, as you will notice, we don't have, funny question marks. Everything looks okay. So, at this point, we don't need to keep the fonts directory around anymore, so let's clean that up. rm-rf will remove directories. So, good stuff there. Let's go back to our root directory. All right. That takes care of our fonts. The other thing that we are going to want to set up is, I want to say it is the Git Flow plugin. Does that sound about right? Or the Git plugin altogether. I think it's the Git plugin altogether. But we have to clone that repository down and install it. So let's go ahead and do that. We should actually put this in our development, what was it? DevTools and then repos directory, just to keep things clean. There we go. So, cloning into, oh, I guess I cloned it into a ZSH. Yep. All right. So that should take care of cloning that. Let's pull down our ZSH file and make sure everything looks okay here. We should have a place for plugins. Which looks like it's right here. We only have one right now, so it shows just on one line, but we do have our Git plugin all squared away. So that's good. We can quit out of this. The other thing that I like to get squared away is, along with fonts, color schemes are also kind of nice. So inside, this is going to be another repository to go download. So we'll go ahead and grab that. The default color scheme works. It's got nice high contrast, but black on blue is a little hard for me to read. So I'm going to go ahead and download our color schemes. There we go. And so now that's going to be another settings sort of deal. We open up our preferences pane, go to your profile, and then you should have colors. And you've got a whole bunch of presets, but you can also import. So I'm just going to import all of them. We are going to go to development, DevTools, repos, iTerm color schemes. And then I want to say, which one of these is it that we have to import? Color schemes? Nope. Not Windows Terminal, not code, not Terminator, schemes. There we go. So we're just going to go ahead and open up all these guys. And that's going to take a minute because we just imported a whole bunch of crap. Computer's going to think about it. Dun, 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 dun. We'll let that do its thing. All right, and then we can go pick from anything you want. I want to say I've been using, however you pronounce that, Argonaut. Someone will correct me somewhere, but I've been using that lately. I find that pretty easy to see. So let's go back to our root, and that pretty much sets up iTerm. So we're going to go ahead and leave that as is. So that takes care of a basic iTerm setup. We got Xcode and we got Brew. All right, that concludes video 1. I will see you guys in video 2.